Hey guys, today I want to talk about the rumor that's being making the round in the UFO community, the so-called 2027 alien invasion. I already posted a video about the book Bible Revelation and the four horsemen of the apocalypse. So you can check that out if you haven't seen it. But this time, I put together clips from different YouTubers who cover all kinds of topics that I think might be connected regarding to this 2027 Doomsday. I'm not claiming to have done deep research here, right? This is just a personal opinion, and I put together for entertainment purposes only. So you can take it or leave it. Now, whether this rumor is true or not, let's just think about for a second. What if we really had only 2 years left? What would you do? I mean, most of us, myself included, I don't have $1 million laying around to build some underground doomsday bunker like Facebook's CEO and other billionaires is doing that right now. Which is kind of odd, right? Like why everyone is building underground bunker. Sound like if they know something, but they can't let you know. Anyhow, so instead, why not just focus on what we can control? What can you control? Look around, think about it for a second. What can you control in your life? Love yourself. Take care of yourself. Spend time with people you love and love you. Live each day as if it's your last, even though there's nothing like doomsday coming up, right? Should be your philosophy of your own personal, I guess, Mimi. Anyhow, be happy, be healthy, and make the most of it. So let's jump into these clips and see what you think.
Or 15 years' time when we finally do know the truth, probably because the NHI have actually forced it to become public.
That leads me to ask, there's been so much discussion of this date, 2027, and where the source of the information comes from, we don't know, but there have been some prominent spokespeople who have been involved with the UFO topic that have spoken about this date. Do you know if there's any validity to that source of that information? And if so, what is your interpretation of that date, if it means anything?
There's certainly something going to happen in 2027, and I don't know what it is.
Okay.
I've also heard 2034, and I've also heard other dates, much later. But depends who you talk to. Some people say it's a pole reversal. Some people say it's an asteroid hitting the planet. Some people say it's AI reaching quantum, and then all of a sudden we lose the capacity to have control of our own computer systems. I have no idea. What I am aware of is that everybody's telling me we're on borrowed time. And I cannot begin to emphasize how serious a look I get when I say to people who are confiding in me, what's the timescale on this? And they're urging me to be urgent. They're saying to me, people need the right to know this. They have a right to know this. And I'm going, well, what are we talking about? And I feel like shaking these people and saying, for God's sake, just bloody tell me. And they are all constrained by their national security oaths. They want the public to know this. And this is why the President Trump, has a unique ability to literally flick a switch and force this to be revealed. And look, that might still happen. You've got Tulsi Gabbard as DNI, Director of National Intelligence. You've got Nash Patel at the FBI. You've got John Ratcliffe at the CIA. Three people who have all prior to coming into government, expressed strong interest and support for UAP disclosure. Well, let's hold their feet to the fire and see what they're prepared to reveal. At the moment, I'm not seeing a great deal.
Yeah, because the only thing that Trump hasn't signed is an executive order for the declassification of
So what have they
UFO
told
info.
him? I mean, I did an interview with Don Trump Jr. in December, and I can tell you, he's red hot on the subject.
Yeah.
He's very, very interested in UAPs. Why is his old man very evasive on the issue of UAPs? What has he been told? Like, what do they do to the presidents? Do they bring them in, and what's that thing that they use in that UFO film where they hold
the neuralizer?
The neuralizer. Have they neuralized the president? That's what worries me. Basically, what do they tell these people? And it's only a hypothesis on my part, but here's Trump comes out this week and he announces a golden dome. I'm told that on known science, the golden dome is technically unachievable on known technical science. Yes, we can do what we've done to help Israel defend itself in that sort of area, but the notion of a nationwide dome that can stop intercontinental ballistic missiles or incoming missiles, the experts say to me that's just not possible within the science they know. So is this, as you suggested earlier, the beginning of an attempt to inculcate or insert NHI technology into known human science? Is this going to be the
to discuss the truth?
All right, you're welcome. I will say this. There were some American government officials. They're assisting in the disclosure process behind the scenes. Back in the September of 2022, they invited me to meet them in Washington, D.C. And these officials requested anonymity, which I will honor. I can say this: they were not CIA officers. So during the course of the meeting, which was held in a SCIF, it's a sensitive compartmented information facility, SCIF. One of the officials mentioned, I didn't mention, one of the officials mentioned that the year 2027 emerged in the various social media venues. And I was asked about my knowledge of that year. And I said, yep, I acknowledge that, it seems to loom large within the channeler community, spiritual consciousness communities. They're the ones talking about 2027. And I suggested that, why don't you research what Anjali Schultz and Chris Bledsoe have stated about these future years? And keep in mind, this is 2022, so 2027 was 5 years away. And I was pressed for my own personal opinion. And I reiterated, I defer to the channelers. I don't know what's going to happen in 2027. The channelers seem to be talking about it. I did say that I referenced Louis Elizondo, told him that in 2022, that same year that I talked to these folks in the SCIF, stated that we should engage in a hobby for 5 years and all will come out by then. So I gave that out. And 5 years from 2022 is 2027. So maybe it's some kind of disclosure timetable. But when they further pressed me for my personal opinion, and I said, I personally hope that these NHI beings might make their presence known by then, that they control disclosure, not humans. They can show up anytime they want to. They chosen not to, but suppose they do show up in 2027, then it behooves the American government to start disclosing everything it knows about NHI and their technologies now. Let's use these 5 years to start moving forward. Otherwise, if you don't disclose anything and they show up on their own accord, that's an uncontrolled, unpredictable shock to the system, and that would be disastrous. That's the story behind 2027. I never said that we're being invaded by ETs in 2027. They're going to land in 2027. A lot of bullshit came out in social media by these social media influencers, but that was completely untrue. It was just a discussion about what I conveyed from the channelers.
This object might not be entirely natural at all. They propose that it could be masking some kind of alien technology beneath its comet-like appearance. One of the most well-known voices raising this possibility is Professor Avi Loeb, an astrophysicist from Harvard. he recently stated that this object might actually be of artificial, possibly extraterrestrial origin, and that we should stay open to surprising discoveries. Professor Loeb isn't making these claims without reason. He points to specific details about 3I Atlas's motion and path through space that seem too unusual to be purely coincidental. According to him, the object's trajectory and certain other features don't completely align with what we'd expect from a natural comet. One of the strange things about 3I Atlas is that even though it entered our solar system quite a while ago, our telescopes didn't spot it until it was already very close. That's not how things usually go. Most objects coming from interstellar space are detected early, when they're still far away. But this one slipped through, mainly because of the direction it came from, which made it difficult to detect. It was heading in from a part of the sky that's hard for us to monitor effectively. Another major point is about its orbit. Most interstellar objects enter at random angles, but this one is different. Its path lies almost perfectly in the same flat plane that the planets orbit in, the ecliptic. That kind of alignment is incredibly rare, and it's not just a coincidence. This angle would actually allow a flyby path that brings it closer to multiple planets, almost like a planned route. It's similar to how we designed the trajectory of our Voyager spacecraft to pass by several planets for study. According to calculations, the chances of this kind of precise alignment happening randomly is only about 0.2%, and it gets even more curious. The object passed unusually close to Venus, Mars, and Jupiter. These are some of the closest planets to Earth, and having an object from another star system come so near to all three in one journey is highly unlikely. The chances of this happening randomly are around 0.005%, which is extremely rare. It's almost as if the object is on a carefully chosen path, one that maximizes interaction with the inner solar system. Another weird coincidence is that when 3I Atlas comes closest to the Sun or its perihelion, it will be on the opposite side of the Sun from Earth. This means Earth will be completely blocked from seeing it at that moment. The Sun will be right in the way. The chance of this kind of alignment is around 7%, which again is not very high. It feels almost like the object is deliberately avoiding our view, slipping past Earth through its one major blind spot.
So the unusual trajectory of this object offers the possibility that it might have been designed so as to have some goals of a reconnaissance mission. So it's possible that it's a comet, but if that's the case, it will become very clear as it comes closer to the Sun and gets heated so that its evaporation rate gets much larger. And then
knowledge through what, the occult?
Through the mystery schools.
I mean, at what point do you just get introduced like, oh, hey, you made it? Here's the
You mean
here's
into the mystery
knowledge.
schools?
You might want to build a bunker.
That's a good question. That's a very good question.
Have you thought about that?
Yeah, I don't know the answer. But
What is the occult? I'm new to all of this.
Okay, so well, the occult is a very general term. The occult can encompass your everyday Satanist.
That's kind of what I thought it was.
Yeah, the occult is a very broad term. The mystery schools are a little more specific. The mystery schools go back to the ancient times, and the function of the mystery school, fundamentally, is to preserve the knowledge of the antediluvian world, and more specifically, to preserve the knowledge that was transmitted to mankind by the gods who descended in the Golden Age. That is the purpose of the mystery schools, and there's various mystery schools around the world, but
like what are they?
Well, you had the Elysian mysteries that were the ancient Greek mysteries. You had the Egyptian mysteries. You have the modern adaptations, like you had the Knights Templar, who were to some extent a mystery school. But then you had the Masons, the Freemasonry.
Didn't the Templar turn into the Masons?
The Masons preserve some of the traditions of the Templar order. Yes, there's modifications, but fundamentally there's the let's say the pillars of Masonry do come to some extent from the Knights Templar. And so you have different variations of mystery schools. This is the Illuminati, right? Mm-hmm. That would be a one faction of the mystery schools, or maybe a term that encompasses them all. And again, the primary purpose of the mystery schools is to preserve the knowledge that was transmitted by the gods to mankind in the antediluvian world before the cataclysm. The knowledge that was transmitted to mankind during the Golden Age, during Zep Tepi the first time. And that is functional knowledge, by the way. It's not just, it's not just sort of arcane, mysterious knowledge that pertains to, just bizarre stuff. No, we're talking about functional knowledge, information that is very important, that is transmitted through myths also. Myths transmit knowledge. The wise concocted those myths. The ancient sages they devised the myths. And we're talking about the famous myths from the ancients among the Greeks and the ancient Egyptians and the ancient Mesopotamians. What we today look at as bedtime stories, what we today view as folklore, and of course historians and archaeologists and anthropologists don't really give much weight to these myths. Oh, that's just Greek mythology. But the myths were intentionally designed to transmit information, to preserve information and transmit it through time. And it's done primarily through symbolism. Because languages change, right? Mm-hmm. Languages change, but the meaning of the symbols always remains the same.
So how do you think these guys get into, how do they get the knowledge? Have you thought about that?
You mean the people who are in the...
Yeah, the bunker builders.
So it's, again...
they could just be worried about nuclear war.
There's a couple of things that's true, yes, absolutely. That's certainly in play. But there's a couple of ways. I mean, one, if you're a member of the mystery schools, and I'm not saying your neighborhood Freemason, mm-hmm. Just your average Joe who happens to be a member of a lodge. No, you got to be way high up into these organizations before they start to transmit this information to you, because at the lower levels of Masonry, they're not told. This comes from, by the way, Manly P. Hall, who is one of the greatest Masonic philosophers, probably the greatest.